England's defeat to Scotland at Murrayfield continues to reverberate through English rugby, and now World Cup winner Will Greenwood has delivered a pointed critique of the decisions that shaped the outcome. At the heart of his argument is a selection call he believes proved costly, choosing Finn Smith ahead of Marcus Smith for the Six Nations clash in Edinburgh. The 31-20 defeat to Scotland national rugby union team not only ended England's 12-test winning streak, but also exposed structural and tactical vulnerabilities that had been masked during their run of victories. Greenwood's analysis suggests that the seeds of the loss were sown long before kick-off. In the selection room, that a blistering Scottish statement Scotland were dominant from the outset at Murrayfield, racing into a commanding first-half lead. Tries from Huw Jones, Jamie Ritchie, and Ben White propelled the hosts into a 24-10 advantage by the break. England's only bright spark in that opening period came via Henry Arundell, who crossed for a try between two yellow cards that ultimately became a 20-minute red. When Jones added his second try in the second half, capitalizing on a charge-down drop goal attempt from George Ford, the contest was effectively settled. Scotland's 18-point cushion proved insurmountable, and England's hopes of a statement victory evaporated in the Edinburgh air. Yet for Greenwood, the result was not merely about Scottish excellence. It was also about English exposure. The 6-2 gamble under head coach Steve Borthwick, England have frequently employed a 6-2 bench split, 6 forwards and 2 backs among the replacements. The strategy, designed to maintain forward dominance and late-game physicality, had become a hallmark of their winning run. Greenwood acknowledges the logic. A forward-heavy bench can overwhelm tiring opponents, reinforce scrum supremacy, and ensure breakdown intensity remains high into the final quarter. But he warns that such a split carries inherent risk. A 6-2 bench split is always dangerous no matter who you pick, Greenwood argued. But without a bona fide utility back, even riskier. That caveat, versatility, lies at the core of his criticism. With only 2 back replacements available, flexibility becomes essential. One injury, one card, or one positional reshuffle can destabilize the entire structure at Murrayfield. That is precisely what happened. The wrong Smith? Greenwood's most pointed remark concerned the identity of the player wearing the number 23 jersey. While he rates Finn Smith highly, even describing him as England's second-best fly-half behind Ford, Greenwood believes the tactical context demanded Marcus Smith's broader skill set. Marcus Smith offers coverage at fly-half, full-back, and potentially inside center. His acceleration, counter-attacking instinct, and spatial awareness provide adaptability in chaotic scenarios. Finn Smith, by contrast, is a more orthodox distributor and game manager. Excellent in structure, less proven in positional improvisation. Greenwood insists he made his preference clear before kickoff. Marcus should have been on the bench. The decision to opt for Finn, he argues, left England vulnerable when events spiraled beyond script. Henry Arundell's disciplinary issues proved decisive. His first yellow card disrupted England's defensive alignment early. His second, upgraded to a red under the 20-minute rule, forced prolonged reorganization. Playing with 14 men for an extended period is challenging enough. Doing so, with a bench lacking backline elasticity, compounds the difficulty that Arundell's absence required positional shifts. Players were shuffled, roles redefined, and cohesion diluted. Greenwood does not blame Arundell's sanctions. He concedes they were justified, but he questions England's preparedness for such contingencies. With 3 players needing changing, he observed, there was just not enough cover. The result was a backline stretched thin, players operating outside their comfort zones, and Scotland exploiting the fractures. Exposure in real time when Finn Smith entered the contest, England were chasing the game. Instead of slotting seamlessly into fly half, he was deployed at inside center, a role demanding defensive heft and familiarity with midfield collision patterns. Greenwood highlighted a telling moment late in the match. Off first phase, Finn Smith crashed into the Scottish midfield and was turned over with ease. The issue, Greenwood argues, was not effort but suitability. He is a fly half, Greenwood emphasized. Why not send Tommy Freeman on that line, even though he is playing on the wing? That is what a clever side would do. It was a snapshot of England's broader problem. Talented individuals placed in scenarios that did not maximize their strengths. Risk versus reward. The 6-2 split works beautifully when conditions are stable. When England are ahead, when injuries are minimal, when discipline holds, the additional forwards amplify dominance. Fresh legs in the pack can close out matches, strangle opposition possession, and protect leads. But rugby rarely unfolds so neatly. Greenwood frames the debate as risk versus reward. At Murrayfield, he says, England assumed the risk and received zero reward. The gamble was magnified by Arundell's red card, but the structural fragility pre-existed that moment that a bench configuration should withstand turbulence. England's did not. Coaching accountability. Importantly, Greenwood directs criticism upward, not at the players. He insists responsibility lies with Borthwick and his coaching staff. Selection strategy, bench balance, contingency planning. These are coaching domains. Players execute. Coaches architect that England's backline, reshuffled under pressure, lacked the rehearsal time necessary to function fluidly. Greenwood notes that international squads train together only briefly. Combinations such as Finn Smith at 12 and Freeman on the wing would have accumulated limited minutes in camp. Such configurations can succeed, but they demand rehearsal and clarity. Team Murrayfield. They appeared improvised. Scotland's capitalization credit must also go to Scotland. Jones' brace, Ritchie's breakdown authority, and White's tempo control were not accidents. They were the product of precision and opportunism. When Ford's drop goal was charged down, Jones reacted quickest. When England's midfield spacing faltered, Scotland attacked the seam. When defensive reshuffles occurred, they probed relentlessly. Scotland sensed instability and accelerated into it. England, meanwhile, were recalibrating on the run. The broader implications. This defeat carries significance beyond one fixture. England now face renewed scrutiny regarding their tactical identity. The winning streak had generated optimism. Murrayfield reintroduced doubt. Is the 6-2 split sustainable against elite opposition? Does England possess sufficient backline versatility? Can they adapt mid-game when the script collapses? Greenwood's critique suggests that adaptability, not structure, determines championship resilience, that England's resources remain formidable. Ford's composure, Finn Smith's development, Marcus Smith's flair, Freeman's athleticism. The ingredients are present. The question is configuration. Lessons from Edinburgh. If there is a silver lining, it lies in clarity. Murrayfield exposed the consequences of marginal calls. The difference between Finn and Marcus Smith may seem slight on paper. In context, it proved significant. A single bench slot altered the geometry of England's response to adversity. Greenwood's message is not that Finn Smith lacks quality. On the contrary, he rates him highly. But squad selection is situational. The right player in isolation is not always the right player in context. Against Scotland, amid anticipated hostility and tactical unpredictability, Greenwood believes versatility should have trumped orthodoxy. Looking forward, England will not have long to dwell on the defeat. International rugby's calendar is unforgiving. Adjustments must be swift, lessons internalized, narratives reshaped. For Borthwick, the challenge is to balance conviction with flexibility. The 6-2 split remains a potent weapon, but perhaps one to deploy selectively rather than habitually. For Greenwood, the conclusion is stark. Murrayfield illustrated what happens when calculated risk meets chaotic reality. The debate over Finn versus Marcus Smith will persist, but the deeper issue is structural adaptability. When systems fracture, do you possess the tools to improvise? On this occasion, England did not. Scotland seized the moment. England scrambled to contain it, and the margin between preparation and improvisation was laid bare. The Calcutta Cup clash will be remembered for Scottish brilliance and English indiscipline, but also for a selection call that, in Greenwood's view, tipped the scales. In elite sport, the smallest margins define outcomes. At Murrayfield, one bench decision became the fulcrum upon which a winning streak pivoted into defeat.